Oh, good old Weebix, man. Weebix is where it's at. Alright, spawning in the bottom right hand corner, we have the red Zerg and NC. Down 3-0 in this series right now. Let's see if he can take it back.
Damn, how long's the series if you're down 3-0?
It's pretty bad, man.
Now best of 21.
Bro, I'd totally do that. I'd do a best of 21. Not a best of 69. I think that's a bit madness.
Did you see that best of? Oh, I don't know, something stupid,
Was
30
it-
something. I don't know.
It was a best of
Was
69
it Bly
between.
versus Marine Law?
Oh, no, okay, no, I didn't see that one.
Or
No.
it was Bly versus some Terran anyway. And poor Bly, man. Holy heck, it was a massacre. I think Bly didn't even get to 5 games won.
Oh,
I don't know. When
no.
I tuned in, the Terran was like, yeah, he had won. Oh, and all games were played.
I
So
thought it
all
was
possible
Snoop vs Bunny.
played.
That's what I thought it was. A best of
Oh,
69.
that was a long time ago, wasn't it?
Ah, okay.
That was a much more recent one. I do remember that one though.
That's savage. And I really think that's because Zerg is a reactive race, the more often they play, the harder it is. It takes more attention to play reactive than it does to just play a build. And Terran can just keep playing the same build again and again and again and again. So it's a lot easier for a Terran to just blast out shit tons of games. And that's why I think you can see Bjorn literally just go for like 10 hours, just like bam, straight to GM.
His poor wrists though.
Oh yeah.
I just think about his wrists.
I think if he didn't APM spam so much, it really wouldn't be too bad. I've always said, if I'll be okay to lose my legs, I wouldn't be okay to lose my arms. That's pretty savage, but I'm an indoor person. I could cope with having no legs. I mean, it'll be devastating, but I would cope. You know, I had to throw down spines there. I was like, shit, I got nothing. And this was only really a pressure out of you. So you got your third base already done. Alright. I think maybe... hold up, I need to find the hotkey to backtrack. No, I don't. No, I can just bring up the timeline. Here we go. Alright, I think this was slightly too aggressive out of you. Doing this. Just go back to normal speed. See, like, I had a lot of Zerglings. I've already committed a lot to defense. You're already ahead of in workers right now. So you've scouted that I have nothing in my third. And that means that I'm very committed to defense. So if you just kind of go back to that, just kind of go back right here. We'll just kind of resume, but we'll look at your vision. You get that spine crawler. That's a 200 mineral, 150 mineral pickup for you. That was a great shade. You forced me back into my natural. You get the drones at my third when there's not that many. But then this is your mistake, I think. Shading into the main base. There was no need to be more aggressive, and you saw how many Zerglings I had. Because you could have used that to just shade away and be fine. I mean, it was a nice spot with your adepts. And you get a few more workers here. But it's kind of just not necessary. And this is probably why you feel a bit flimsy. It's because if you shaded them away, you buy more time for you to macro at home. And this is something that Pig talks about. Is if you don't have enough time to perform the actions you need to perform, just pull your army away. Just pull your army away 1 or 2 screens. And then just do everything you need to at home, and then just return to the aggression. So it seems like maybe you're just focusing just a bit too much on being aggressive when I in this case had already been very defensive. I made a lot of Zerglings, and I hadn't built any drones in my third.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's probably why it feels like you don't have very many units because you just lost a lot of units. A lot of Protosses that I've been facing, they just pull their Adepts back, and I can't counterattack. They come in, they do a bit of damage, and they just have this. The army pulls back, and so they have a defensive army at home, and then they move into their next harass, which would be this Archon drop.
The firstborn shall persevere.
Another thing here.
Game paused.
Obviously, you had made the Archons, and you sent the Warp Prism in, but you had some macro to do back at home. But by bringing this Warp Prism out and then stopping it to do that macro, it gives me time to prepare. Whereas if you just go back to when your Archons were just warping in,
Game paused.
I had no idea about this, and it looks like you've already queued some commands here, but you changed your mind and had to do
I
macro
have
back
no
at
idea
home.
why it didn't. Yeah.
Game resumed.
But by just doing what you do here, where you just kind of stop it above my army, I'm like, oh, okay, you have a War Prism, and I know that that's Archons.
Glory to the
So you kind of give me a lot of time to prepare for this, and then you start doing something with it. When I've already started dropping down spores and queens on a hotkey, and then you go straight into the middle. I guess this was an all-rounder mistake, so it's probably not fair of me to like focus so much on it when it was a misplay. But
Yeah, as
maybe
soon as I flipped back to it, I knew it was like, well, that's definitely in the wrong spot.
yeah. So maybe just a breakdown of like when you're gonna harass, focus a lot more on your harass, but make sure you've done your macro first. It's okay to delay the harass a little bit and do your macro, and then focus entirely on it. But doing half of both means you're gonna have bad macro and you're gonna lose the harass. Yeah, so if you'd kept those early game Adepts and you still had that War Prism, this would look far more scary.
Yeah, definitely.
Majority of the time, the best decision is the one that keeps you with the most units. So, although you think you're trying to do harass with like Adepts and your Archons or whatever, the best thing you can do is keep it alive. It's better to keep it alive and maybe do less damage initially, but doing damage throughout the game and continuing to do that damage is what's going to be really nasty. It's a lot more nasty than just doing a bit more damage but losing it, right? Because as the game continues, there's a lot more tasks to focus on. I have more bases to inject. I have more creep spread to spread. I have your big army to worry about. I have my upgrades to get. So when your harass gets better and better, the later the game goes. So losing units to do extra damage harass early game isn't worth it, in my opinion. Sorry, I'm being really critical here, bro. I'm not trying to say your play is shit. I'm just like trying
I don't mind.
to point out
Don't
maybe
mind
like
at all.
maybe some areas that could be improved.
No, absolutely.
I mean, my play isn't fantastic either. My tech is extremely late. And my map awareness is awful right now. I don't even know you have this fourth, I think. Yeah, I don't even know you have this fourth, and it's nearly finished and it's already got its defenses. Pardon me. Alright. No observer. Your observer should have cleared this creep, because at the moment I have vision of everything.
Yeah, I find most things I face, at least in the versus Protoss matchup, I know versus Terran, they would probably have a better emphasis on group spread. But you're one of the few Zergs that I constantly face that has good creep spread. So it's usually never something I even worry about. They usually just like connect their first, second, third, and fourth bases,
Yeah.
and they don't usually aggressively expand their creep, but you do.
Right.
That's also something that's quite intimidating because, I mean,
Mm,
engaging onto creep, you know, it's always a especially with a lack of vision. Like I don't have any oracles, or I don't really spot with my observer too well. Yeah, it's really scary.
I definitely feel a lot more comfortable with a lot of creep out because it just gives me a lot more time to react, and also having that. So when you do move out on creep, my army not only do I see it faster, but my army can get on top of it faster. But I guess it is one of those intimidating things. I like that creep does kind of function in a way that like kind of makes the swarm kind of scary. It's like when that creep is right on your doorstep, you know that.
Wow, yeah.
It's quite intimidating. But it's not something I really think about. If I have a lot of creep spread, I'm just kind of meh about it. But I guess it is kind of something that gets into my opponent's head. This was a great Zealot split. And I guess this goes back to what I was saying, is that Harass in the late game is far more effective than Harass in the early game.
Yeah, I just knew because I was on a timer. Once I scouted the hive,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, here's my timer.
Yeah.
Here's my timer. And then you basically thwarted it in the middle when you killed the warp prism. It immediately shut down. So I had a bunch of supply that eventually, you know, in a few minutes were going to be next to useless.
Yeah, that's
So I
really
thought,
smart.
fuck it.
And you found a really good way to
I
utilize that.
I better get rid of them now.
One thing I'm noticing here is this is definitely an army to take on the low Broodlord counts that I have here, but I mean one of my mistakes here is not making more corruptors and spending my money. But I guess the mistake on your end is you have 3 Stargates, but nothing is coming out here. At the moment, my anti-air is Ravengers, and that's absolutely terrible. I mean, like 3 Void Rays right now would just like back off my attack completely.
Yeah, I forget. It's funny. I forget Void Rays exist.
Oh.
I remember they exist once I get a few Tempests out. And I'm like, okay, I've got Storm, I've got the Tempests, I've got the late game army. What am I weak to? Oh, okay, the thick corruptor cunts. Okay,
Mate, you need to go back to
Void Rays.
Bronze League. Bronze League Void
I
Rays are the
know,
only
I
thing
know,
that
man.
exists.
I never used to play with the unit. Oh, except for back in Wings of Liberty, there was a one base. If Terran walled at the front, there was a one base Stargate 4-gate that you could do.
That's
Fling their
nasty,
front
man.
2 supply depots that basically ended their game. That's the only time I ever dabbled with Void Rays. But yeah, no, absolutely, I can see that Void Rays, even just a couple would just be. At least that would swing the momentum back in my favor because you'd
Yeah.
have to back off until something you came up with a response.
There's
rather
nothing
than,
more
you know,
terrifying
you
to me
turtling at my
than a turtle Protoss going mass air, because it's extremely hard to break. It is extremely hard to break and extremely inefficient. And the longer that the time goes on, there's this pressure that if you don't break them soon, they're going to have this army you literally cannot kill.
Yep.
I mean, I've had cases where I face a Gold League player and they literally turtle on just 3 bases. I have 6 bases, all the money in the world, all the upgrades, and I can't kill their army. It's so frustrating.
Yeah. No,
I think some
know,
Zergs deal with it better
see.
than I do, but I think all Zergs at some point has had a dilemma of lack of anti-air. Zerg's weakness is definitely air.
Yeah, I think I've seen a variety of responses. Like even this morning, I watched a game. Who was it? Namsha versus Naniwa, and Namsha tried to go like he just maxed out on corruptors and moved, and then remaxed on units, but that didn't work. And then I saw Nertio, he tried Vipers,
Yeah.
and he definitely survived the longest. But the constant tagging, you know, in the range of the Tempest means that you're always going to go in with losses. You know, so
Yeah,
even if
and that's
you're-
what's really
Even
frustrating.
if you're trading somewhat evenly, it really isn't, because it's free
Yeah.
damage, and eventually your army just gets weaker and weaker, and then the Protoss finally decides to move.
It's one of those frustrations
But,
that I have is that even if you go like Viper Corruptor and you try and just like abduct units at a time and you try to pick them apart, every time you do that, although you're picking off some of their units, they pick off your units for free. No micro, no nothing. It's just
Yeah,
that,
just with the sheer range.
and that's really frustrating. And it makes me like nervous each time I want to come in and deduct. And being nervous when you're trying to use spellcasters and a separate group of units is never good. That's when mistakes happen and you just lose units for free.